link for the training
Which one?
for
The point
the
analysis one?
no, the link for the 2-man stuff. Has that
Oh,
been sent out?
yes, that's been emailed out.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, guys, we will see you next week.
Very good.
Okay.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Sorry I'm late. Um, just got a few things I'd like to go over tonight. Maybe we can get into some videos and stuff like that. The first thing I kind of want to start with is the schedule. I don't know if Alan did that. If somebody wants to pipe up and tell me that or not, um, great. If not, I'm gonna just kind of go through the spiel. I'm not going to be able to see all the questions in the chat, so don't be afraid to come unmuted and ask a question. Okay, so our first clinic is coming up in 2 weeks on the 23rd at Belvedere High School at 9 o'clock. There's registration link is in there. You can go ahead and click on that and get registered for Belvedere. Again, it starts at 9. There's going to be 2 sessions in the morning. There'll be a lunch, and then there'll be, I believe, 1 session in the afternoon on various topics. And for anybody that's new, for anybody that is promoting, and just for anybody in general, you have to have a clinic. You have to attend a clinic. Actually, not every year, but every other year. But if you're advancing promotion wise, or if you need a clinic, that'll be the first one coming up on the 23rd. I will also be there with some of the garage sale stuff that I will have for sale for newer guys, just uniforms and basic equipment. If you're interested, I'll have some of that stuff out there for you. And then for anybody that's on that has equipment and would like to um, get rid of it and repurpose it to put some money aside for newer officials in the JVB program. We will be taking in equipment that day to repurpose it at the next garage sale in March. Obviously, we have the training nights every Tuesday, and then that'll take us to March. Look at that guy.
Hey, Tim, I think it's perfect timing because I want to make a plug on the Belvedere Clinic. Do you mind if I
Yeah,
take a second?
go right ahead.
Hey, so guys, on the Belvedere Clinic, I don't know if you have the agenda out yet or not, but we've been going through the agenda, and I am going to again this year be doing the afternoon session at 11:30 and 12:30 on plate work. So we're going to cover things on calling the plate, balls and strikes, setting up properly, a number of different things. But the interesting thing from this year is while we're going to have some talk back and forth, we're going to have a baseball team there. We're going to have some guys that are going to throw. So there's quite a few people coming. So I think we're going to have 4 to 5 lines. So really encourage you to come over to one of those sessions to kind of get yours. If you're new, we'll get you set up and everything correctly to be good on the plate. And if you're a seasoned umpire or you've been a few years, we can just go through and tweak some things. You can ask some questions. So those will be at 11:30 and 12:30 at the gymnasium over there. I just encourage guys to not blow those sessions off, but come to one of those sessions. And there'll be some good umpires there, some state plate guys that'll work and get you set up and make sure you're ready to go once the season starts. As you know, your judge is an umpire really by your plate work. So thanks, Tim. Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah. Okay.
Tim, I registered for the Belvedere, but I did not receive a return email indicating what time it starts and all that. Are you supposed to receive a return email? Confirmation, basically.
You're also muted, by the way.
Thank you for that. Um, I will check with Alan. Usually you get a return
You-
email, but it is
that-
at 9 o'clock, and just be there by 8:30, 8:45, and we'll go from there.
You're going to get an itinerary that'll come to you, or it'll be posted. That'll show all the different sessions. Registration, I have the itinerary because, being involved in setting up the clinic. Registration starts at 8 and it's at the Belvedere High School, not the one we've been going to, but the old high school. And so anytime after 8, there's coffee there, and then you register. And you'll get an itinerary. You'll have that. Typically, you're going to have that before you go, but then there'll be copies there, and then you can pick the sessions you want to go to. And then the last section it should end at 2 o'clock, and then you'll get your evaluation and your attendance forms about 1:30. Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
No,
Thank you.
by all means.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Yes, sir.
As a new umpire this session, if there's anything that we potentially possibly miss at the Belvedere clinic, is it a good idea to also attend the Wheaton clinic?
It is absolutely valuable to go to both. Yes, not required. You just need one clinic credit, but you'll probably see some of the similar tracks at Belvedere, but then there'll be additional topics discussed at Wheaton that'll be obviously different. So as much exposure as you get to it, the better you get as an official.
Copy that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say something real quick on that too,
Yeah.
just for guys that. So there's going to be 3 tracks at Belvedere each hour, and there's going to be 4 at Wheaton. So there's going to be some additional tracks at Wheaton. And if you have the time and you're weekend and you want to just meet different guys and go, I would encourage you to go to both clinics. That's it.
Highly encourageable. Any other questions on that piece for February's training, Belvedere? Okay, this brings us into March, and obviously we have a training night here. One of these 2 evenings, we're going to have a test prep. I'm not sure which evening Alan picked. If it's going to be this Tuesday, the 4th, it's usually one of the last 2 weekends before, or if it's Tuesday, the 28th. So keep your eye on that. The test will be released probably in a week or so. It's highly encouraged that you start working through the questions, and then we'll review the test either on the 28th or the 4th as a group. And then you can go on and you can take your test. You can get your test off the IHSA site and print it, so that way you can work on it individually. So there's a piece in there to do as well. So be aware of that. If you need any assistance or if you have any questions on that, just let me know and I can talk through that at the end of tonight's session. Okay, the next session will be at Wheaton College, and that begins at 9 o'clock. And that's for softball and baseball. And there's a registration link there. Same deal. The doors will open at 8, like Bill Vincent had said. Registration will begin. If you owe dues, Jeff will be there. And other members will be there collecting dues. Purchase officials will be on hand. If you need equipment, they also offer 10% discount to us as members of FVB. So take advantage of that, and so on and so forth. If you're just getting into umpiring and you want to get started on March the 9th in Huntley at my home at 9 o'clock, we're going to have a garage sale where members will have donated equipment, lightly used and such. If you're a new guy and you're like wondering how the hell did I get myself into this, and where do I go? This is a really good thing to start off with. Come out, you can get some uniforms, you can get decent equipment, and you can get on the field at a reasonable cost. I average about $200 to $300 a year on updating my equipment, whether it's shoes, masks, pads, um, uniform shirts, pants, etc. It's an expensive piece of being an official. So this is a good way to get started at a reasonable price. And that'll be on the 9th will be for folks that are brand new, that are rookies. There's going to be seasoned officials that'll be here from FVB that'll help you through it, get you started, get you picking out the right things. We have everything from shoes to chest protectors to hats and shirts and pants. So that'll be there. More, you'll see emails come out on that as well. The 16th, we're going to have another garage sale, and that's going to be open to everybody. Don't worry, we'll save some good stuff for the 16th as well. Same deal. Come on early. There'll be members here to help you through. If you have questions, if you need stuff, if you want to get started at a reasonable rate, it might be your first year, and getting started in this is, I would just say right off the bat, with a basic chest protector, mask, pants, shirt, hat, it'll probably hit you in a pocket about 325, 350. I'm just throwing a number out there. We can definitely help you as in the garage sale, and get you on the field where you can start making some checks and then start putting some money away so you can get over to purchase a field and get some decent equipment for yourself. Not to saying that the stuff that we have in the garage sale isn't decent, but at least it'll be yours and you can repurpose the other stuff. And then that same afternoon at 12 o'clock at Huntley High School, we're going to have field mechanics. We're going to have 1-man and 2-man training. 1-man will probably be basically for your 0-year to probably 2-year guy that has questions and wants to make sure they know where they're at position wise. 2-man would probably be for a 2 to 4-year guy with maybe a 60-40 split in your varsity and JV schedule, and you want to go on to the next level. That'll be a good thing there to sharpen up the training. It will definitely open your eyes from guys that have gone to clinics, college level clinics, and so on and so forth. We're passing that information down to anybody that's interested for free. Take it or leave it, but we'll be out there from 12. I wouldn't say necessarily till 4 o'clock, but depending on, how many people we get out there and what we, get through and get covering, we'll definitely get you some help and get you started. And then the week of baseball will start the 17th and then go on. One other note that I want to make, and it's not on the calendar, depending geographically where you live, guys will set up pitching sessions with local high schools. I could tell you what's going on in the Fox Valley because I coordinate the stuff here, at least for between Huntley High School and Crystal Lake South. So we're going to have 2 sessions. One on the 11th will be at Crystal Lake South. I believe the time is at 4:45, and it'll go to 7. And we usually go out for some pops afterwards, right down the road from there. So if you're interested and you want to get some pitches in, break in some of your equipment, start looking at some fastballs and some sliders, getting your mind right for baseball for the following week, we'll be out at Crystal Lake South on the 11th. You need more information, send me a email and I will put you on the list, the mailing list, because I usually send it out and coordinate it with the coaches. And then we're also going to have a session on probably the 14th. Could be the 13th, but I usually like to wait and see what the coaches are doing for throwing. And that will be at Huntley High School. And that session will start probably about 6 and it'll go to about 8:30, depending on how many pitchers they have throwing. And it's just good to get out there with guys and get your mind right. You start seeing some pitches. There's always guys that are there that will help you if you want it, get you in the right position. You can talk with the players, see, ask, it's a pretty open and loose environment, and you can get feedback from them. They can get feedback from you. Coaches are there, always asking questions. It's pretty cool, pretty chill. So if you're interested in any of those 2 sessions in the Fox, Crystal Lake South, and Huntley, just let me know. Look me up on the site here and send me an email, and I'll add you to the list. Does anybody have any questions on that? No questions. Jump to the latest.
Oh, I got a question.
Joe Bradley. What's going on, Joe Bradley?
Yeah. Hey,
Hey,
is
not
there
sure.
anybody doing
Go ahead.
anything down south for pitches? Who's in charge of down south?
I thought I saw Ryan on here. You could check with him.
Okay.
I'm not sure who else down in that area puts anything together.
Okay.
I know Bill.
Camo.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, I'll shoot you a text message. I don't have anything set up yet, but I usually go to Glenbard West.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, I
I
don't have
gotta
anything
see
set up
some
yet. But once
pictures.
I do, I'll throw a post out on Facebook.
All right, man. Sounds good. Thanks.
No problem.
Cool. I thought you were catching fish, Joe.
No, right now I'm babysitting my mom, so
All right.
I try.
Very good.
Yep. Bye.
Okay. All right. So my piece tonight was the points of emphasis for this year. So everybody should have gotten a points of emphasis pamphlet probably back in November or when you got your rule book for the 2025 high school rule changes. And I was going to go over that. And then if there was time and if y'all were interested, I had a couple of slides to show. And we can go from there. So the first slide talks about bats, balls, and gloves in 132C1 of the book. This year, they're talking about the use of pine tar and resins. Resin, pine tar, or any other drying agents are permitted to enhance the hold of the bats, and they are not to exceed 18 inches from the knob, which is in the picture. It looks like from the bottom of the knob up. So I've never really had any issues with this. I've never really had come across anything with it. So the rule change creates consistency between wood bats and non-wood bats. And then on non-wood bats, drying agents are no longer permitted on the grip only. So be aware of that. If there was ever a question and they're like, oh, it's 18 inches, blah, blah, blah. You can kind of use the plate as a guide because that's, I believe, 17 across. So anything an inch or so after that, then we would be using, that would be probably used for an illegal bat. So keep that in mind. Don't go digging for boogers in this one. Unless it really comes up, just be aware that there was a change this year on it, and they cannot exceed 18 inches from the base of the knob. Article 2 talked about the bats shall have the following characteristics and components, and the subarticle A through B remains the same. And then C states that each bat not made of a single piece of wood shall have a safety grip made of cork, tape, no smooth edge, no smooth or plastic tape or commercially manufactured composite materials. The grip must extend a maximum of 10 inches, but no more than 18 from the base of the knob. So make sure that the bat has a knob on it and make sure that there's a commercially attached grip that's on the bat. And I've seen it one time where a kid came up to bat without a knob on the bat, and I just basically made him like, "Hey, where's the knob at?" And played dumb with it and just go back to the dugout and get a new one. So just be aware that all of those pieces have to be there. You're not really going to see wood bats in high school baseball. You're going to see more composite and etc. So just keep that in mind. The next slide talks about the use of slippery tape or similar materials are prohibited. Obviously, we don't want the bat flying out of the batter's hands and cracking somebody in the head or taking somebody out in the dugout. But the resin, pine, tar, or any drying agents are permitted to enhance the hold on the bat and not to exceed 18 inches from the knob. So that's the takeaway from that. The changes are going to allow the batter to have a better control over their non-wood bats. So again, don't go looking for boogers. Make sure the bats are conforming to having a knob, having grips on it, and the correct grips, and move along. Forfeiting a game in Rule 4-4-1, it says that a game shall be forfeited to the offended team by the umpire when a team delays more than a reasonable amount of time in not obeying an umpire's order to remove a player, coach, or team personnel for violation of the rule. Basically, you're going to get, and the way I read this is you're going to have some kind of contention if you eject a player and they don't remove the player quickly enough, or they're stalling or dragging their feet or so on and so forth. In this situation, we don't want to be ending games or forfeiting games because, a coach is going to throw a tantrum or whatever. There's protocol that is in place that if you're working a 2-man game, that you and your partner should sort of work out in your pregame and make sure that the coach removes the player or the eject personnel and then get the new substitute in and get the game moving. I think the last thing that people are going to want is to be explaining to the assigner, whether it's Jeff or Kevin or Alan, why they ended the game unless it was really egregious. So there's a few slides that are on this coming up that we'll talk through, but use patience, use your rule book language to get through any contention on the field and get the game moving. Okay, so Article 1 talks about the game shall be forfeited to the offended team by the umpire when they are late in appearing or beginning play after the umpire calls play. So I kind of thought about that one for a little bit and like, well, when are we going to get this? And to me, it's kind of reads like maybe a team shows up late. The way I was kind of brought up into this is you're kind of in it to win it, and you'll be working with the AD, and I'm sure they're going to be in contact with whomever, and they're going to give you time rationale if you're going to forfeit a game because the team is excessively late, because they do have transportation issues in the in the different school districts. Then I would be talking to the AD or whoever is the game administrator on site and making that decision with them. And not just being like, yeah, you know what, they're not going to be here for the next 30 minutes. We're done. And then you start walking out to the parking lot and the bus rolls up. That's not going to look too good. So point out of that, talk to the game administrator before you make any kind of critical calls like that and work that through with them. Obviously, self-explanatory. Refusing to continue to play after the game has started. That would obviously be some sort of issue that is unresolved. We obviously use your game management to work through that. And then let's see, we're talking about delays more than a reasonable amount of time in resuming play or not obeying the umpire's order to remove a player. So that would just be some belligerent coach or belligerent player that doesn't want to leave. Persistent tactics designed to delay or shorten the game. So more funny business. Game management was going to get you through that. Work with the coach, work with the administrator, and then obviously willfully and persistently violates the rules and being warned by the umpire. So just remember, we're ignoring, we're going to acknowledge, and then we're going to warn again, and then we're going to eject, because that's the last thing that we want to have to do is write ejection notices unless it's warranted and it's egregious right off the bat.
Tim, I have a question.
Yes.
Just can you give a quick example for section D?
Persists in tactics designed to delay or shorten the game. I mean, that could go as wide as equipment. Like I just did a basketball game an hour ago, and it just seems like nobody wants to wear their uniforms properly. And you have to keep telling them, tuck your shirt in, tuck your shirt in, tuck your shirt in. And literally a kid after this first 3-pointer, I know this is basketball I'm talking about, he starts unraveling his shirt out of his pants because he just hit this massive 3 to start the game. And then I stopped the game and I'm like, look, dude, abide by the uniform. If it comes out naturally, then fine, we'll move on. But you just took all that stuff off. So not I would probably stay away from D. You're looking for something there, unless it's something that's the elephant in the room.
Got it.
Yeah, Tim,
Okay.
Tim, I would say the main thing where that's going to come up, where you got to pregame it on the field with your partner, is when you get into the late arrival and then you got darkness.
Right.
So, you've got to pregame with you got to in game with your partner saying, this is how far we're going to go and et cetera. Don't try to, if you got to be careful about going a little too long and then now you're getting a problem with lighting and then they start to delay. So that might be a situation where it comes in. So you got to kind of control that before they get to that point.
Right. And then there was a question in the chat about would dragging the game out, hoping the end for darkness counts. Well, it depends on which end of the stick that you're going to be on at that point. I do highly encourage one thing with that, and thank you for bringing that up, Bill. Know when sunset's going to be, especially in the early season, end of March, beginning of April. You're going to be battling sunset issues. I had an experience last year that I probably wish I could get back. Maybe I handled it the wrong way. Maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. But if I would have had more awareness of the time, and I always do bring a stopwatch out with me. I guess it's just from the time I spent in college that I just kind of feel weird without it. And know when that sunset time is, and know that you are limited. You're going to be limited. If you're butting up against the beginning of a new inning and you're around sunset time, you should be talking to your partner and discussing like, all right, how long are we going to go? How long, how much more time do we have left with this? Blah, 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 blah. And then don't be afraid to make that cutoff time. If it's a little after sunset, don't take it to the point where a kid ropes one out the right field and you as the official didn't see it because you lost it in the darkness of the sky. And that's not a good look. Take it from me on that one. All right. The clarification piece, forfeit is the result of when a coach, player, or team personnel doesn't conform to the instructions of the umpire. So that's basically us telling them, hey, let's go, let's move on. Let's get the new Johnny in for the old Johnny. And an ejection is a serious violation of sportsmanship in the game's decorum. To aggravate the violation with the game forfeit is egregious and contrary to the basic premise of education-based athletics. Remember, it's education-based athletics. So I know that doesn't always seem like it when we're out there, but I think their last result is to forfeit a game. So just use your game management skills to keep things moving and the game to completion. Why are you not advancing? All right, hold on a second here. Okay, state adopted procedures are involved. They're talking about the run deficit that you're going to find in I believe it 424. So each state adopts their own kind of end of game procedures. Where in this situation, we're up over 10 runs here, and it states that we can end the game after a certain point. So let's make sure you check the rule book on that. However, if the state does not adopt any procedures, mutual agreement. So some coaches will basically just come up to you and say, "Hey, we're done. I don't have any more pitching. This isn't going well." You're usually going to kind of see that. Very rarely you will, but you will see that in blowout games where the score is like 30-1. It does happen on occasion, but very rarely. So just keep that in mind that it can be terminated if it's mutually agreed upon. And if a state association has adopted the game ending procedures, only those games ending procedures may be used unless the opposing coach wishes to terminate the game. Basically, get everybody together at that point. Hey, do you agree? Hey, do you agree? Yes. And then move on. But that's obviously if that situation comes up. Okay. In all IHSA baseball games in the regular season, there is a postseason. Um, we'll also use a 15-run rule after 4 innings or 3.5 innings if the home team is ahead. I've seen this a few times. It does kind of come in helpful. And when you have a lopsided game, so keep that in mind. Good thing to do is if you have a card or something that you carry with you on the field or a book or something like that, it's nice to jot some of these notes down so you can remember them in case it comes up. Because when you're out on the field and the situations come up and you need that clarity, just to reassure yourself, it's there, it's in your book. I have a little sheet that I have that I write on the back, um, you know, 10 after 4, 15 after 3, blah, blah, blah. And I have a couple other little notes that I have on the back of that. So just keep that in mind. Use of authenticated markings for baseballs. They want us to start the games off with authenticated NFHS baseballs. They're going to have the markings on it as you see on the screen. You're usually going to get 3 baseballs from a coach, which is usually not enough. Don't get nitpicky when it gets down to the 5th or 6th inning and you can't see the markings on there anymore. I've never seen that come up where anybody contested anything. And some places you're going to get to where you're going to be like, hey, just give me whatever you got in that bucket, and so we can move the game moving, because those are about $8 to $10 a piece. And some schools have a endless supply of baseballs, and some schools in some of the more fortunate areas are usually pretty stingy when it comes to handing them out. So if you go to Hampshire High School, Frank will be more than happy to give you as many baseballs as you need. So just keep that in mind, that the marking's supposed to be there when you start the game. Okay. Another point of emphasis here is the pitching position. Pitchers are required to use 2 sets of positions. One is the windup and one is the set position. Okay. And the picture that's shown on the screen is the windup position, where the pitcher's pivot foot is in contact with the pitcher's plate and it's not parallel to it. Okay. So that's very important. So pitcher's facing you, He's in the windup, and expect a full motion. Obviously, you're going to get this when there is a runner, no runners on, or if there's a runner on third, or second and third, or something to that effect. Just keep that in mind. Does anybody have any questions about that slide?
What about when pitchers are trying to do the hybrid position? Because I've seen that happen last year, and this was there during a JV level, and a coach literally came up to me and saying, when there was a runner on third base, saying he's in the hybrid position, but I can't tell if he's actually like in the windup or in come sets. Like, how am I supposed to approach that?
Okay. So a few years back in, I think 23, don't quote me, they kind of did away with the term hybrid position. And we're going to see in a slide or two ahead after this one. But again, the key um, here, Nick, is to take away that there are the uses of two positions. It's the windup or the set. And what determines that is where the feet are positioned. Okay. So I want to draw your attention to this parallel and not parallel to the plate. Okay. So just keep that in mind and hold off until we get a slide or two down the road here.
Sounds good.
Okay. This picture depicts the set position. This position of the pivot foot determines which the set position. He's parallel with his right foot. Obviously, this is a right-handed pitcher, so he would be clearly in legal. Is in contact with the rubber directly in front of the parallel and parallel to the pitcher's plate. Perfectly legal, perfectly good. One of two positions, parallel, not parallel, right? It is important that umpires, coaches, and players know what positions the pitchers is used so they know which part of Rule 6 they can play in. This is a legal stance. There's a picture of them showing a legal stance in the set position. Fit. The pivot foot is parallel to the plate. Another legal picture of the stance in the set position. Pivot foot is parallel to the pitcher's plate. Okay. There's obviously, if you look in the rule book under 6-1, 6-1-2, and 6-1-3, you'll there is explanations for that in the rule book. I'm not going to go into that at this time. God darn this thing. Sorry about that. This thing is very sensitive. Let me get back to that.
Can I interject something, Tim?
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things that I would recommend is not getting yourself in a position where you have to make that tough call in the game when you can handle that early by watching how the pitcher warms up. So I personally think it's a great idea when you're starting the game and every pitcher comes in that you're right away on that pitcher and seeing what his stance is, what his arm slot is, how he brings the ball to the glove, how much time it takes for his windup or set to get to the plate. And so if you see somebody who's in the old, lack of a better term, a hybrid position, you've got to go out and say, hey, you're in a set, in my opinion, you're in a set position when you're in this position or you're in the windup position. So I'm going to call it accordingly. And they should get the message from there. Most of the times, if it's a warm up, I'll go out and say something. But if it's early in the game and I have a catcher who's pretty smart, I'll say something to the catcher. But you can kind of nip that in the bud before you get in a game situation now where you got to block them later in the innings. That's it.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah. Again, there was a rule change where they did away with the hybrid. I'm trying to look through my notes here and can't locate it. Why is that damn thing keep changing on me? Sorry about that, guys. where they did away with the term hybrid. So again, we'll go back to what it said before, where you're either parallel or not parallel, right? So obviously we're not parallel in this situation. So this would be a acceptable windup position. And this is what you would see as the hybrid if it was in play. Now, I hate to interject college into this, but I know in college that they have to declare their positioning on there. That hasn't trickled down to us yet in the high school level, which it should, I think. But like Bill said, and suggested, you could do some um, uh, preventative officiating and talk to the catcher, or just make a note to the pitcher somewhere somehow, and just let them know. But there's no such thing as the hybrid now. There's two positions. Just take that away. We're parallel or we're not parallel. Okay. Questions?
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, a good barometer on that, if you're not really sure and you can't really tell, is the foot, so you're far back from the feet, but another good barometer is the shoulders. So if the shoulders, as you see in this legal stance or the wind-up position, if the shoulders are open to you, I got to wind up. If the shoulders are closed, then I got to from the stretch position. So that's another barometer. But if I have any questions on my pitcher when I see him warming up, I bring a ball out to him and I go like, hey, the way your shoulders and feet are, I got you in a set position.
All right. This is always a tough one, bench decorum. You're going to usually see this with crosstowns, in conference games, big games, and so on and so forth. And the coaches are going to want to get, they're going to want you to, or some of them may want to get, depending on which end of the stick they're on, you involved. Just remember that it's the coach's responsibility to set the sportsmanship example for their team. These are conversations that you may want to have with, or you're going to have with the head coaches. If there's anything that's goofy or coming out of off the benches, where you get some jockeys or so on and so forth, you can have that conversation as they're crossing paths with you or bringing out a baseball to you or whatnot, and you can have that kind of conversation. One of the things that Bill taught me when I was coming up was pull out your lineup card and your pencil. If you're talking to the coach, you can use that as a optical look, and you can have a conversation with them, and everybody could be looking at you like you're taking a change or something, where you can actually be having a conversation like, "Hey, Andy, I really need you to control your bench. You're kind of getting out of hand. I'm hearing things. I'm getting complaints from Brian. So can you please monitor that for me and go from there." If things really get extreme and things really get out of hand, you may want to elevate that to a higher power. But typically, if you have those subtle conversations with the head coach in that kind of manner, things should quiet down, or and that'll get you through the rest of your game.
Thank you for
So,
making me the hypothetical bad coach.
well, it wasn't you. I was using another coach in mind named Andy.
I know.
But does anybody have any questions on that? I mean, bad stuff is like vulgarity, personal jabs towards pitchers and so on and so forth, or players or whatnot. You want to kind of nip that, so that'll just going to make your life go a little easier. Um, Again, those are conversations you're going to have with the head coach. Um, Props. I guess we're going to carry tiki torches out and have all kinds of stuff. There's no purpose to have any of that kind of stuff out coming out of the dugout um, on a home run or some kind of scoring. That's just standing them up. This is a warning right off the bat. That's as far as you're going to take it if it's a first offense. Um, Second offense, I probably would be having more of a closely knit conversation with the head coach, being like, "Come on, man, where's the sportsmanship at in education-based athletics?" And again, we're going to use the ignore, acknowledge, um, ignore again, and then eject piece after that, and all the tools for your warnings. You're not going to see. I've yet to see anything like this at the high school level, but it wouldn't put it past me. Um, Still going with the communication piece this year through the catcher. The 24 season started it, was the first year allowing one-way electronic communication devices from the dugout slash bench to the catcher. Just remember that the coach calling in the play needs to be inside the dugout, calling it. He cannot be in the bullpen or outside the dugout or so on and so forth. Schools can use different technologies, including earpiece style, electronic bands, or smartwatches, giving school several different various options to do that. So just remember, let's say schools can use different technologies, including earpieces style, electronic bands, or smartwatches. I don't know about the smartwatches, but that all can be used this year, giving many options to call plays in. But just remember, it's one-way communication. It's only to the catcher from the dugout. I've seen that used last year a little bit. It wasn't that big. Some schools liked it, others didn't adopt it. They kept the wristbands and the 3-2-4 hike plays and all that other business. So I could see this kind of coming in more use now and probably next year where the pitcher's going to be able to get involved with it as well. So usually a couple years after it passes in the NCAA, it trickles down to us. Only catchers allowed to wear or use the electronic communication devices, and the coach is not allowed to communicate with any other player using electronic communication. And that was all of the points of emphasis. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? No fun. Okay, I have a a YouTube video here that talks about managing lineups. I thought it'd be interesting to go through. I'm gonna kind of play through it. We can go probably it's 20 minutes. We could probably go through it. I just want to touch on a couple things. If it gets a little dry, I'll um move through it pretty quick. There's just a couple things I want to share. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear the audio, but let me know if you can or you can't. Can you hear the audio?
Nope.
Ah,
Nope.
Nope.
okay. Hold on. Can anybody hear the narrative?
Nope.
All right. I'll kind of talk through it. I can hear the audio. All right, so they're talking about the plate meeting here. I'll just kind of run through some of this here. Through my narrative. So we're going to start the game off by meeting the coaches right after they do their infield. Bear with me. I kind of want to get that picture. Obviously, this was during COVID, so you're going to have your two-man system, your coaches. You're going to want to take your lineup card from your home coach. One of the things when you're doing that is obviously before all that, introduce yourselves. You should know these guys' names by first name. Best thing to do is do your homework before you go to the field and look at the school's database and try to find out. It's a good thing to do that to kind of move yourself along the process to advance in high school baseball. Shake their hands, take the home team's lineup card before you proceed, and then review it. What you want to do is you want to review it for conflicting numbers, names, and so on and so forth. Make sure that everybody's name that's listed, number, position wise. If you're looking at the card, the coach will tell you, I have a DH in the 5 spot, and he's going to be for my pitcher, and who's listed at the bottom. So there's a procedure for that, and I'll show it in the card here. Just circle the DH number so you know who the DH is, and just try to connect them mentally with the person that's on the card. And then you're going to do the same thing with the opposing coach's team's card. I've seen it. I do it. I never will take the visitor's card before the home team, and they all kind of know that as a process. It's just decorum in the game. It's how we manage it, and go through the same ritual from there. Plate meetings, I'm sure Alan's probably mentioned it. They're not rule interpretations. This should be a 30 to 45 second interaction. We're not going to be telling war stories here. We're not going to be discussing what happened the game last week and so on and so forth. We're just going to do our business. We're going to get our acknowledgments for properly and legally equipped. We're going to go through the ground rules and then check the cards and then move about our business. Sometimes captains will come out with the if they're available. I know Huntley brings out at least 2 guys and such. So just shake their hand, nod, wave, and smile, and move about their business. All right. So one of the things that the IHSA also wants us to interject in there is to cover the the good behavior piece, and that's just simply you guys are properly and legally equipped. Get the positive yes, yes. Good sportsmanship at all time. They all know that, but the IHSA wants us to wants us to say that to them and reinforce that. And like this slide says, discuss the ground rules, and then confirm the players on the cards, and then move about your business. And then they'll break off, and then warm-ups. I'm gonna kind of skim through this. Yeah, that's a good point. And that piece, if you are driving out to the facility and you're going to be in inclement weather, make sure you know if just try to take a mental note if the facility has a lightning detector that's on there in the facility, or if maybe you met the AD in the parking lot and you're kind of discussing this, that, or whatnot. But that should also be a pregame piece where you and your partner should be talking about it. Hey, weather's coming in. This is what we're going to do. You see anything, you hear anything, we're going to get everybody into their dugouts and move about and get them safe. And then try to get a coach's phone number if you can, if you have to get to your car. So that way you can communicate with the head coach of the home team. So that way you're not running through the rain or the torrential, torrential pouring and having to drive home in soaked equipment and uniform. So good piece to remember. Going back to the lineup card, when we're talking about the designated hitter options, I do have a presentation about that I still have to kind of freshen up, but maybe I'll do that in a couple weeks. But that should be one of the things that you identify on there, or it should be brought up because that's the only time that it can be. At that point, it can't change as the game goes on. So if somebody wants to start with a 9-man lineup, they can't inject at the 10th guy at that any part of the game, other than it has to be before they hand you the lineup card. Substitutes should be listed on the card. Sometimes teams have 20 plus guys. You might find them on the back, you might find them on little print, but just observe on the card where they're at because you're going to be making notes and so on and so forth as the game goes on. I always ask the coach, are these your subs? Yes. And I just verify that he sees them as well as I do so that there's no confusion from there. This is a typical lineup card that you're going to see. Some guys have the Dick's Sporting Good flimsy sheets. These have a little bit more rigidness to them that you can write on. Another good thing you can do is bring out a couple of 3x5 index cards with you to kind of use as a backer to write on. And you or take notes. I usually do that in a quick reference when a coach is coming out for a visit, or if there's something that I need to jot down real quick in between plays or whatever, or if there's a player change and I can't get the lineup card out right away, I get the 3x9 out and I have it marked. And actually, Bill Vincent has some good ideas with that he may discuss at Belvedere or Wheaton. He usually brings those out and it'll show you how he uses those. But it's a good thing to have something to write down on in your pocket. And it'll fit in your breast pocket or your ball bag, so you can go. This Outlaws team here is depicting the 10-man lineup, traditional DH. With the DH in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spot, and that's what it's going to look like. So at the beginning of the game, when I'm checking a card, I'm going to circle this guy right here just so I know that that's him, and then I'm going to match him up with the guy that he's being DH for, which is usually the guy in the last part of the lineup over here. All right, let's see what other kind of fun stuff they have in here. I'm kind of bummed that you guys can't hear that. But real quick, you can just go to YouTube and type in NFHS managing lineup cards, and there's plenty of videos that are out there that'll show you how to do it. This is kind of showing how they're marrying these two guys up. On this card, usually you're going to see that the person that they're DHing for is going to be on the last line of the card. So a thing that they did in here a little differently than I do is they actually marked off the starters, which I don't know. I didn't really like. If that works for you, great. If not, the way I kind of do it, I like. It may not work for you. It works for me. And that's kind of the piece that I wanted to talk through. Is when we have when I have a substitution, in the beginning of the game, I will get the substitution from the coach. And let's say it's this guy, number 30, Craig. And he's going to come in for this guy here, John Gant. So what I'm going to do is is I am going to circle this number here, 30, on the substitution chart. And that tells me that he's a sub and he's in the game. And what I do is I'll put his number up here somewhere in the sub column or over here, depending on where I start writing stuff down. And then what I will do is I will put a line through number 31, right? And that tells me that this starter here is he's going to have a re-entry because I know that that's my mark. The line through there on the starter is going to have a re-entry. And I'm going to put 30, put a circle around 30 here in the holding pattern. So when they take number 30 out, I'm going to put a line through this guy's name through here, and I'm going to cross him out over here. And let's say they're going to put 31 back in. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a line through this circle. And that's going to tell me that the sub is out, and this guy burned his only reentry right here. I know it's kind of hard to I don't know if you guys can visualize that or not, but it's that's how I mark my card. And know that I can't use 30 anymore because he's done, because he's got a line through him, and I got him crossed out here, and then 31 is in, and he's burned through his reentry. Oh, I didn't get the commercial free one. So one of the other things you should know is your substitution rules on who can come in and who can't. We all know that. Hold on, let me get this stop here. You can enter a substitute for any starter at any time, except for the pitcher, who must face one batter unless the pitcher's injured or ejected. And then a starter who has come out of the game can re-enter the game one time, but they must re-enter into his original spot in the batting order. So they can't go anywhere else other than back where they came from. Okay. One of the big pieces of advancing and moving on to higher levels of baseball is managing a lineup card. It is an art. Things move fast in the game. You have conferences that you have to remember to mark, player changes, and so on and so forth. So once you build a system that you know that works for you, then your game's going to get a lot easier to manage. Okay, so a starting player that has re-entered the game can be substituted for a second time by another eligible sub. So that would obviously be the guy that's on the sub list that doesn't have the line through him or with a circle. So then you would know. And then you would just follow that routine. You're going to see this in a lot of games where you're going to have multiple pitchers. And you just have to just keep managing through it. Where it's really going to get a little dicey and a little hairy is if you have a batting out of order. So that's why it's important to have a clean lineup card and a good way to manage through it and understand your notes. And then once a sub is in and he's subbed for, then he's done for the rest of the day. Okay, so courtesy runners, they can be used at any time at bat for pitcher and or catcher. If the team bats around, the pitcher or the catcher would still bat in their same spot. You cannot use the same courtesy runner for the pitcher and the catcher. They have to be two different people. Sometimes coaches will tell you who they are prior to the game. They don't want you to take preemptive substitution changes, but it's a good idea to kind of know that in advance because things start moving fast. Players keep come running out. You don't always get the number, so it's sometimes it's good to have that information and be armed with it. But just remember that they can't be projected. Okay. So players who have participated in the game in any other capacity are ineligible to serve as a courtesy runner. So that would be a situation where you used a substitute already and you burned him. He cannot re-enter the game as a courtesy runner. Once you use a sub, he's done for the rest of the game. They're gonna talk through the substitution piece. They do it a little differently than I did. But again, what works for you may not work for me, and what works for me may not work for you. But I strongly suggest, and I don't use multiple colors either. That's why I use the circle and the lines. So I strongly suggest that you adopt some sort of regiment on how you're going to keep your lineup card. And they're talking through how, circle the guy, the sub. Now the 31 is going to re-enter. Again, I use a different mechanic than they're using here, but hopefully you're getting the idea on how to jot these notes down. So in that example there, 31 was the starter. 6 came in for him. Now it looked like that they were going to re-enter 31. I'm not sure if it stopped on me or not. He crosses 6 out, writes 31 down. And then he wound up circling him over here, showing him that. So obviously he's done. So now 10 will come in. 10's down here. Hallbrook. He puts a line through 10. Circles them. Probably going to put a cross through 31. Now he knows that 31 is done for the day. And 10's a sub.
You got a question in the comments.
All right. Thank you for pointing that out. Let me see what it is because I don't have that up. 2. For two-man crews, do both umpires collect and manage the lineup cards? No, it will be only the plate umpire that's going to manage the lineup cards. only the plate umpire. He's the crew chief. He manages the lineup cards, and he does all of the communications with the head coaches. Did I answer your question, Jason?
Yep, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, those are really the points that I kind of wanted to touch on. I'll play through the courtesy runner piece here. I think that's important because we know a courtesy runner can only go in for the catcher or the pitcher, and it can't be the same guy. So their mark in here is to use a dot. I usually write down courtesy runner, and as you could tell over here, that they have their little tic-tac-toe box, and this is something that Mr. Finson will teach you how to do because he has some pretty cool looking cards and some pretty shorthand tricks that he's taught many of us along the way. And shorthand is another good thing um, that you should get accustomed to using. For whatever dorky reason, I like to write down the inning that the change happened. And I usually will draw an arrow if it's the top of the third or up, or an arrow down if it's the bottom of the third. That's one of the pieces that I use in case the coach ever came back and said, "Oh, I didn't use that guy." Well, yeah, you did. You substituted him in at the top of the third. Don't you remember? Just remember that all the changes have to come in through the head coach to you. You should communicate once you get that change. You'll communicate that with the opposing coach and make sure that he gets it. Couple tips on that. Never chase the coach in the dugout or on the field or anything like that to give them the substitutions. I always, and I was taught this by a veteran umpire, always stay in your office. You never have to leave this circle area here as the home umpire, home plate umpire. This is your box. This is your home. This is your office. If you need to communicate anything out, it's 1 foot in the box and 1 foot out of the box. If the music is blasting and you can't hear yourself think, wait to a point where it you can get the message in and deliver it and move about. They don't need you to run it. You don't need to be running in their dugout. Oh, Jimmy, Coach Jim, 44 is coming in for 52 or anything like that. You make eye contact, tell the assistant coach 44 for 52. And that's as far as you go. There's no reason for you to chase these guys down, especially if they're obnoxious and they play music that is barely understandable or legible to even hear because they play it so loud. Some schools do that, and it actually drives me crazy. But stay in the box, communicate the message, and then go about your business. Don't ever leave this area. If you bring a drink or anything like that, if it's a hot day or whatever, just go straight back to the fence, get your drink, and then come back to the circle and take care of your business. Pet peeve of mine. Yeah, I don't really get into any of this kind of fancy stuff. This is way too over my head. The pieces that I wanted to show you guys was the circling and the line and making your shorthand so that you can understand it. I really don't have any more to give you guys tonight. I encourage you to take advantage of the training that we have coming up in February and in March to get you ready for the season. If you're new and you have questions, new guy questions, I'll hang out for a little bit and answer them as best as I can. I'll open the floor up if you guys want to have open dialogue. We could do that. be my guest. I'll give you a couple more minutes here, and then I got to get cracking because 3:55 comes early.
I know just a good tip for some of the new guys. If you mentioned the car, you did mention the car using a card or something like that, but instead of having, if you're getting all these changes and stuff, sometimes it's just good to write the numbers, the 22 for 14 or whatever on an index card or whatever, and then you can in between innings do the whole circling and managing the card, just because it is a little bit of a pain in the ass to take that thing out, unwind, undo it, get it all done, and fold it back up, put it in. Everybody's waiting on you to play the game, while you're doing those changes. So it's a little easier just to take the numbers only, write it down and then manage your card in between innings.
Good point, Lee. Thank you for pointing that out. That's a great tactic. To transpose that stuff between innings. Anything else? Come on, there's got to be some new guy question.
Well, I haven't done varsity yet, but this pretty much applies to varsity, right? With the lineup.
It's encouraged at the lower level, JV
Okay.
and freshmen, to take the lineup cards.
Sure.
A lot of them don't give them to you. We've always had the stance of asking the coaches for them, and you're going to get
Okay.
oh wow, okay, yeah, I'll get you one. But even if you just take it, right, and let's just say you don't know what the hell to do with it, right? You have a card now, and then you can come back home and you can watch the video, and like I said, it's that easy to pull that up. And the point that I'm trying to drive home is like, when you get to that level and you get to that piece and you have to start making those changes, you're going to have to figure out that shorthand that's going to work for you, that you're going to be able to manage that card, right? So yeah, if you want to, that's a great place to practice. If they're making changes and stuff like that, is at the lower level. We have sessions after the season starts every week. It's usually starts at 8:00, and it's open forum. And if you have questions, that's where you would bring that up and talk about it with the guys that are, Alan has them. I'm on. Rafi will be on. Lee will be with, some guys, after the games will just jump on, and that's where you discuss, like, hey, I had this situation tonight. This is what happened. These are the pieces to the puzzle. This is how we work through it. Or hey, we had a batting out of order tonight, and this is what happened. Here's the card. That's how we learn this game. That's how you get to the next level, and get better at it. Is through that and through this. And FVB has been very good at doing that. Any other questions?
I have one completely different related question about substitutions, if you don't mind me asking.
Go ahead, Nick.
So let's just say, for instance, that like 31, going back into that lineup situation, like 31's going in for 6, but neither number 31 nor the head coach has failed to notify me that this substitution is happening. Is that still illegal at bat, or is that call for an out?
So that would fall under unreported substitutions in the rule book, and that actually there is language in there. If I had my book here in front of me, I could probably dissect through that. But if you get into your rule book, and you could find that language in there where basically you could have an unreported substitution. And that's where a situation like that would be. It wouldn't be like a batting out of order or anything like that. It would just be that conversation at that point, like, hey, yeah, he was unreported. But there is language that talks about that in the book.
Okay.
If I could jump in, just quickly about unreported substitutions. Any substitution that is unreported, unless superseded by a rule in which the team is not allowed with an illegal substitution, they are allowed to do so. It is considered a legal substitution.
Does that help you, Nick?
It does. So then, in which case, I guess the only thing is that like if that is quoted like unreported, and the play continues on, that I'm guessing to my understanding is that's illegal at bats.
Yes.
First off, and second off, you just have to get that number towards the side, I guess, during the inning or whatever. Just figure out when really to get who that substitution really was, or
Well,
how would you approach that?
if it's you're not going to know about it until it's brought to your attention. I mean, that's you won't know about that, or unless you're gleaming down on your card and you notice it, but there's no reason why you would have that. That's going to come from a defensive, it's going to come from the opposing coach. Hey, and they're going to want batting out of order, and then that's when you're going to have to pull out your card, and you're going to have to dissect through the card and find out. Well, wait a minute. Well, 31 was he was a starter. We sub 6 in, and now 31's back in the game in the same line and in the same spot in the lineup. It's going to be ruled as unreported, unless, like Tanner said, there's a situation where the guy is out of the game and he came into the game. Now you're going to have a legality problem there.
Okay.
I hope that helped you.
It helps me a little bit, and it's something that I'm going just to figure out as I get into that situation. So basically, but I got the gist of it.
So I've been umpiring for probably almost 20 years, and I've had it happen once. So don't go looking for it. It's going to come find you, but suggest that you look in the rule book for the terminology of unreported substitute and read through that piece.
Will do.
Hey Tim, for the new guys coming to these first couple of clinics, I think I read one of the previous emails about a particular dress code for the clinics, but for the guys that don't have equipment yet, how should we be coming to the clinics?
Okay, so I could take that from 0 to 60,000 feet. Give me your situation, Lucas.
My situation?
It's a great question, but give me your situation.
Meaning
Are
what?
you a new guy?
I am a new guy. Yes.
And have you umpired before?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you want to take this? You kind of know that a little bit in advance. Like, are you unsure? Do you have your kind of foot in the water? I'm testing it out.
No, I mean, I'm as far as I can say right now, I'm all in. I mean, depending on how things go in the next couple
All
of
right.
years, maybe I'll
Great.
be doing it somewhere other than Illinois. But
Cool. Great answer. Okay. I would show up business casual.
Okay.
You don't need a shirt and a tie and a jacket, but I would definitely be coming in with a polo shirt on and some khakis and looking the part there.
Mhm.
At least at the clinics. And you want to get around the guys that are going to be in front of you. And here's my example to that. I went to my first college camp, actually second college camp, and I showed up in shorts because I didn't know. And that was the last time the guy ever looked at me. Last time. Like, I'm like, why aren't I getting any games? I believe I'm a good umpire, yada, 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 yada. And I found out later on that it's because I showed up when we were actually doing field work, and I showed up in a pair of shorts and a polo and thought I was all that and then some, and I got shit and my face rubbed in it.
Got it. Understood.
So, Tanner, do you want to add anything to that?
Sorry, what was the question?
Decorum, dress decorum, going to a clinic. How do you want to present yourself?
Yeah, presentation is one of the biggest things with being an umpire. You want to be one of the biggest things was being clean shaven. A lot of the professionals that I've met have nice presentable facial hair or clean shave, presentable clothes, no wrinkles. Off season's a great time for getting the old iron board and iron out all the wrinkles on your pants and shirts. And
So, hey, hang on, Tanner. This
Yeah.
is more or less going to a clinic to sit through. I think that's where Lucas is going with the question.
Yeah,
oh,
for a new guy that doesn't have any that doesn't have any equipment, no uniforms, nothing yet.
Right.
Yeah, that was the question.
So yeah, I mean, know your audience. Obviously, I'm picking on Tanner because he just came back from professional. He came back from professional umpire camp in Florida. So yeah, know where you want to go and how you want to get there, and then understand what it's going to take for that, and that's showing a good presentation up front.
Hey, are you guys talking about the clinics that FVB puts on?
Yeah, and such.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not
So
telling you.
the
Go ahead,
first
Joe.
clinic I ever went to, for FVB, I wore a cutoff sleeve shirt, t-shirt, and I think it was sweatpants. Jeff looked at me like I was a fucking nut. But I figured out real quick that I shouldn't do that again. Didn't kill my career, let's put it that way.
It's not a career killer by say at maybe this level, but if you wanted to
Right.
move further up and move
Right.
on,
That's why I wanted to know if it was for the FVB clinic or the.
Yeah.
But yes, I remember Jeff's face distinctly looking at me going, "What the fuck is that guy?" I do remember that. But that was me. That's how you guys know me. That's how I freaking dress. Except for Tim, when I was in college, I had to wear the nice clothes.
So Lucas, I hope to see you out at the garage sale to get you started. Okay.
Yep, for sure. I'll be there.
Cool. Nick, take a look in your rule book under 236-2. That should get you started talking about unreported substitutions.
Yeah, I was just looking at that too, and I just read through like Article 2 saying an unreported substitute is a player who by rule can be in the game but has entered without reporting. So that just right there kind of just cleared it up.
Right. You know where let me see if he's still on. You know where I had that situation? Me and Mr. Oh, did he leave? I'm trying to see if my partner was still on because I remember who I had it with. Don, you still on? I think he left. It was at Caba, probably in 2017. We had an unreported substitute, and I botched it, and I thought it was batting out of order. And then as I was walking off the field, one of the veteran umpires, Lino, if you guys know him, he goes, "What you guys have down there?" And I told him what happened. He goes, "Oops." He goes, "That wasn't batting out order. That was unreported substitute." And that's where I learned how to. That's where I learned it. Unreported substitute rule. All right. Anything else? Questions? I'll give you 8 more minutes, or we're gonna shit can it now.
Hey, Tim, out of order, the other team has got to catch it, right? You don't have to police that, correct? As an umpire?
That's correct. That's going to come
Okay.
from
The opposed,
the opposing team,
the opposing team, right? Yeah.
and they're going to come. They have to come to you at a certain time and place, right? Because if they come to you and point out that you have batting out of order before a pitch is thrown, then you're going to do something. Well, you're going to do
Right.
something either way, but you'll be switching players out. If they throw a pitch and the runner gets on base, then we're going to be removing people. Okay.
Sure.
So we usually have a couple sessions on that as the weeks go on, but there
Got
are
it.
pieces in there.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, buddy.
And remember, it can't be from the crowd either. A lot of times somebody will be yelling, they're batting out of order. They're batting out of order. You just shut up. Don't wait for a coach.
Right. Anyone? Bueller?
Tim, you should remind everybody one more time about getting together for the taking some more pitches. Everybody should be taking pitches before the season starts.
Scott Chocolate, everybody. He was out at my JV game tonight. Thanks, buddy.
You look good, by the way.
Yeah, I'm still fat. I don't know. Too many beers. That was a good game, actually. That was the best basketball game I had all season. I did mention that at the beginning. I could go over it again.
Yeah,
Scott,
I heard you. We should remind everybody one more time, though.
yeah, I'm gonna try to hit that every week when we open up, just to kind of drill it in people's heads. It's a great time to get out. It's a great time to be around the guys talking baseball. We're gonna be out at Crystal Lake South. If you're interested, email me, look up my name in the FVB website. And I'll get you on the list because I usually coordinate that with Scott, Chocolate, the guy that was just talking, and then the coaches that are in the area. We go to Huntley one time, and then we go to Crystal Lake South another. I've had one guy that showed interest since the last meeting that I've had. And then you heard Joe ask about the guys down south. It sounds like Ryan Mulcahy's going to be putting something together down there. So look out on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm. We're going to be going to Jacobs too.
Oh, okay. I did not know about that.
Yeah, I actually seen Jamie at